In 1953, the Central Intelligence Agency overthrew the elected government of a country that had never attacked America. They did it for British oil money. They denied it for 60 years. In 2013, the CIA quietly admitted all of it on their own website. The country was Iran. The operation is the reason there is a war there tonight. This is not a theory. This is the agency's own published admission. The cables are declassified. The officers are named. The money is tracked. The medal the United States gave the American who ran it is in the official record. So are the 70 years of consequences, up to and including the aircraft carriers in the Arabian Sea, as you watch this. This is what actually happened, and why almost no American has ever been told. The man the CIA removed was named Mohammad Mossadegh, a lawyer, a politician, and by every contemporary account, a Democrat in the most literal sense, elected Prime Minister of Iran in 1951. Time Magazine named him Man of the Year ahead of Churchill, Truman, and Eisenhower. 71 years old, not a communist, not anti-American, a nationalist who believed Iran's oil belonged to Iran. Belief was the entire problem. Until 1951, Iran's oil had been controlled by a single British company, the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company. The company is known today by a different name, British Petroleum, BP. The British took the overwhelming majority of the profits. Iran received a tiny royalty. The Iranian parliament looked at the contracts and voted to nationalize the industry. It was their country and their oil. Britain's response was to impose a naval blockade and freeze Iran's assets. The Iranian economy began to collapse. Winston Churchill asked President Truman to help remove Mossadegh. Truman said no. The United States would not overthrow an elected foreign leader. The transcript exists. In 1953, Truman left office. Eisenhower took over. His Secretary of State was John Foster Dulles. His CIA director was Allen Dulles, John Foster's brother. Both Dulles brothers had personal financial ties to British Petroleum through their former law firm. Within 90 days of Eisenhower's inauguration, the American position on Iran had reversed. The CIA received authorization to plan Mossadegh's overthrow. The budget was $1 million. The operation was given a code name, TPAJAX. The man chosen to run it was Kermit Roosevelt Jr., grandson of President Theodore Roosevelt, 37 years old. A colleague at the time described him as the last person you would expect to be up to his neck in dirty tricks. That colleague was Kim Philby, later exposed as one of the most damaging Soviet double agents in British intelligence history. Roosevelt arrived in Tehran on July 19, 1953. The operational blueprint had been drafted by a CIA officer named Donald Wilber in meetings in Cyprus and Beirut. Wilber's after-action report, written in March 1954, is the most detailed surviving record of what the CIA actually did. The agency classified it for 46 years. In 2000, the New York Times obtained a leaked copy. In 2013, the CIA officially confirmed its authenticity. What the Wilber Report documents, in the CIA's own language, is not a popular uprising, not Iranian anger spontaneously boiling over. It is the mechanical construction of a coup by foreign intelligence officers using money, propaganda, and paid mobs. The tactics are in the declassified record. The CIA distributed cash from a Tehran safe house to buy the loyalty of senior Iranian military officers. It funded Iranian newspapers to publish anti-Mossadegh propaganda. It financed a campaign claiming Mossadegh was a communist, which he was not, and that Iran was about to fall to the Soviets, which it was not. Most important, the agency paid Tehran's most feared mob leaders to stage riots that would appear to be public opposition to Mossadegh. Kermit Roosevelt, in his own 1979 memoir, described hiring Iranian thugs to stage demonstrations, chanting pro-Mossadegh slogans while attacking symbols of the state. The purpose was to make the Iranian public believe Mossadegh's own supporters had turned into a violent mob. The CIA's declassified records confirmed the tactic. The operation nearly failed. The first attempt on August 15th collapsed. Mossadegh's security services arrested the officer sent to dismiss him. The Shah panicked and fled to Baghdad, then Rome. CIA officers believed the operation was over. A cable was sent to Roosevelt telling him to abandon it and leave Iran. Roosevelt ignored the cable. He continued without authorization. Over 4 days, the CIA's paid agents flooded Tehran with staged riots, counter-riots, and propaganda. Between 200 and 300 Iranians were killed. On August 19, 1953, army units loyal to the Shah moved against Mossadegh's residence. He was arrested. He was tried for treason. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison, followed by permanent house arrest. He died under house arrest in 1967, never having left his home again. 2 days after Mossadegh's arrest, the CIA transferred $5 million in cash to General Fazlollah Zahedi, the man it had selected as the new prime minister. Zahedi, according to the declassified record, had collaborated with Nazi Germany during the Second World War. The CIA knew this when it selected him. The Shah returned from Rome on August 22nd. Roosevelt met with him privately. According to Roosevelt's own memoir, the Shah raised a glass and said, "I owe my throne to God, my people, my army, and to you." The agency's officer in Tehran, accepting credit from the restored monarch for the overthrow of Iran's elected prime minister. The Shah ruled Iran for the next 26 years. His secret police force, SAVAK, was established with direct CIA assistance. It operated with documented CIA training and funding throughout the 1960s and 1970s. US Senate records document that SAVAK tortured tens of thousands of Iranians. The methods included electric shock, sexual violence, and burning. The specific American intelligence officers who provided the training are named in the declassified record. For 25 years, American diplomats called the Shah an island of stability in the Middle East. He bought American weapons. He provided basing rights. He suppressed opposition. Every American president from Eisenhower to Carter endorsed his rule. The 1953 coup was never publicly discussed. When pressed, CIA officials would say only that the operation, if it had occurred, involved sources and methods that could not be discussed. In 1979, the Iranian Revolution overthrew the Shah. The revolutionaries had grown up under his secret police. They had grown up knowing their government was kept in power by American intelligence. When students stormed the American embassy in Tehran on November 4, 1979, they called it the nest of spies. They were not being hyperbolic. They were using a literal description of what the embassy had been used for since 1953. The 52 Americans taken hostage were held for 444 days. The hostage crisis ended the Carter presidency. It began what most Americans think of as the US-Iran conflict. What they do not know is that the conflict did not begin in 1979. It began in August 1953, when the CIA destroyed Iran's democracy to protect British oil revenues. The agency continued to officially deny involvement until 2013. That August, on the 60th anniversary of the coup, the CIA released a document titled Zendebad, Shah, and acknowledged, in its own words, that the coup had been carried out under CIA direction as an act of US foreign policy, conceived and approved at the highest levels of government. Secretary of State Madeleine Albright had made a partial acknowledgement in March 2000. She said, "In 1953, the United States played a significant role in orchestrating the overthrow of Iran's popular Prime Minister, Mohammad Mossadegh." She called it understandable in the context of the Cold War. She did not call it a crime. No American official has ever called it a crime. No one has ever been charged. The operation is in the CIA's official history as a success. Kermit Roosevelt received the National Security Medal in 1960. He retired from the CIA in 1964. He went to work for Gulf Oil. He died in 2000 with a full military funeral. His New York Times obituary mentioned Operation Ajax. It did not use the word coup. It did not mention Mossadegh by name. Donald Wilber, author of The Blueprint, became a respected scholar of Persian architecture after retirement. He published academic books. He died in 1997. His obituary did not mention Operation Ajax either. The Dulles brothers retired from government with full honors. John Foster Dulles has an international airport named after him. Allen Dulles is buried in Baltimore. Neither was ever questioned under oath about Iran. In June 2017, the State Department released a 1,000-page volume of previously classified documents on the 1953 coup. The volume confirmed every major claim the CIA's internal record had already made. It added new detail. It named additional officials. Some documents remain classified even in the 2017 release. The United States government, more than 70 years after the operation, is still protecting specific names and specific details. The Iranian people have never forgotten. Every Iranian schoolchild is taught the name Mossadegh. Every Iranian political speech that touches on America eventually returns to 1953. In 2018, Iran's foreign minister marked the 65th anniversary with a tweet. 65 years ago today, the US overthrew the popularly elected democratic government of Dr. Mossadegh, restoring the dictatorship and subjugating Iranians for the next 25 years. The war happening as you watch this is the direct descendant of that week in August 1953. Iran's nuclear program, which the current American administration describes as an existential threat, exists in part because the Iranian state concluded decades ago that only nuclear deterrence could prevent another 1953. The Iranian government's hostility to American influence has a specific historical origin documented in the CIA's own files. The current American naval blockade of Iranian ports echoes, almost detail for detail, the British blockade that preceded the original coup. None of this excuses what the Iranian state has become. None of it excuses the brutality of the current regime. What the declassified record does prove is that the relationship between the United States and Iran, the relationship that now has the two countries at war, did not begin with Iranian aggression. It began with an American operation, documented in American files, admitted by the American government, to overthrow an elected foreign leader who refused to let a British oil company keep taking Iran's oil. The operation is in the CIA's published history. The cables are in the declassified files. The names are named. The money is tracked. The officer who ran it received a medal. The men who approved it retired with honors. The country they overthrew never recovered. The consequences are on the news tonight. The United States admitted the lie in 2013. It has not admitted the cost. It has not admitted that every subsequent conflict with Iran, up to and including the current war, traces back to April 1953, when Allen Dulles signed off on $1 million for the destruction of a foreign democracy. The files prove the decision. The cost is still being paid by the Iranian people, by the Americans stationed on carriers in the Arabian Sea tonight, by the families on both sides of a conflict that the 2013 admission quietly confirmed did not have to exist. It began with oil. It began with a suitcase of money. It began with a grandson of an American president paying Iranian mobsters to riot in the streets of Tehran. It is still happening. This file is now unsealed. The vault has more. Subscribe and you'll be there when the next one opens.